Good morning. Thank you for being here today. Today I'm announcing my decision to recuse my office from the determination of criminal responsibility for the death of Alton Sterling. I prepared a report that provides a legal basis for why I must do this. This report will be made available to the public at www.ebrda.org, and I have copies for you here that are present today. Let me say that recusations is never an easy decision. It is, in this case, one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make in my time in office. I'm making this decision today to continue to ensure justice for all parties in this matter. In this specific case, as with each of the cases that we have handled in the 7 years that I've served this community as district attorney, my office's commitment to ensure justice for all parties is accompanied by my equal commitment to complete transparency. To ensure that justice will remain the objective focus of the investigation surrounding the circumstances of Mr. Alton Sterling's death, I, along with other city and state officials, placed a call to the federal authorities on the night of July 5th, requesting their involvement and assistance in this matter. Though I have no direct relationship with either officer, I feel it is of the utmost importance that I disclose the personal relationship that I have had with each of Officer Salamoni's parents over the past several years, as outlined in the report that my office has made available online for you today. Trust in our criminal justice system is as important as transparency. Due to the professional relationship that I have had with his parents of one of the officers involved in this shooting, the best way that I can maintain that trust is to request another prosecutor be appointed in my place. I have reached out to representatives of the Sterling family, the community, faith-based leaders, and law enforcement to provide all of them with the reasons for my recusal. Our community leaders, our police, our protesters, our citizens each deserve all of our support as we resolve to move forward together. I have done a lot of listening over the past week. I encourage everyone to continue this meaningful dialogue, which has taught me so much. Let me speak personally to you today and directly to the citizens of Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is my home. Baton Rouge is your home. Baton Rouge is our home together. There can be no denying that there are real issues of trust in our community. These issues have been evident well before this past week. We have worked on these issues for years. We will continue to work. The people of Baton Rouge should know that I will know that more work needs to be done, and I commit to you and the people of Baton Rouge that this work will continue to be done. I'll be glad to take any questions in the time we have.
Now that DOJ is investigating, what role does the local prosecutor play going forward anyways?
Really, yes, really good question. So DOJ comes in and they investigate, and DOJ would rather not parallel investigations for real simple reasons. You have a limited number of witnesses, and those witnesses have already been interviewed by the police department. So DOJ will then go out and interview those witnesses. So if you had 2 or 3 other parallel investigations, you'd have 3, 4, 5 different witness statements. So it's better to let DOJ do their work. They're completely independent from nowhere around here, no relationships as I have these personal relationships. So it's best for them to do their investigation. Following their investigation, they will ultimately make a decision whether there is some potential federal criminal violation or civil rights violation that they would seek to pursue. On the other hand, they may say, we don't believe that there's a federal violation, and Mr. District Attorney or Attorney General, we believe there's possible state violations that could have occurred. And at that point, they would give the investigation results to the DA or the Attorney General. And in speaking with the federal authorities from around the country, and personally, it's my belief that knowing that I have the relationship in the recusal issue, which we have discussed in my office internally for the last 5 days, that I would not be doing a service to the community and to justice if I had just waited just to see if they were to make a referral to me. I think I'm better off acknowledging and declaring this at this point, so there will never be any more delay, depending on whatever comes in the future, which I just don't know what's going to happen at this point.
Who assigns the district attorney to take over for you?
So the way the law is, I will file a motion. I will file a motion with the court and ask the court to recuse me and to either appoint the Attorney General. The Attorney General then has the authority to either accept the case himself and handle the case, possibly appoint another district attorney, a different office, or I think also has the ability to appoint an independent prosecutor under the statute. Yes, ma'am?
Tell me about your relationship with him.
Just, I've been involved in the law enforcement business either as an investigator, criminal defense lawyer, and DA for 42 years. In the bulk of those years, I've known the parents of one of these officers, and those officers have been involved in some high command levels and have worked with them and their officers on many different programs, projects, security issues. So I just felt that it was more appropriate for the trust and for justice in this case that be disclosed, and I think that this is the only in the proper decision to make.
In reference to the protest this past weekend, do you believe or have any charges been dropped, or do you believe they'll be charged, they'll be dropped?
Oh, I really have no idea. I've not had the chance to read a report. There's obviously things are moving very quickly here, and I think they're around 200. It's my understanding that the bulk of the arrest, and maybe 100%, will be state charges. So I'll wait to see those. They'll all be assigned to one section of the court, which really clogs up a particular section because that section is on duty. We're going to do as good a job as we can, as quickly as we can, to try to go through the reports as they come in, to identify first offenders, those who have stepped over the line, which ones can we resolve very quickly, compared to those that are carrying guns, having masks, those are throwing things and injuring officers, different folks that we'll be dealing with. So it's just going to be really a case-by-case basis, but we're going to try to expedite as quickly as we can. Judge Bonnie Jackson is on duty. She's done a tremendous job in getting bonds set very quickly and setting up that bond schedule and reviewing the bonds to make sure that these folks who are in there for misdemeanor offenses can be bonded out of jail quickly. So we're trying to expedite that process. Now, I'm told as of the last 2 hours ago that at that point there were maybe 20 people remaining from the night before. And by now, I'm assuming that the vast majority of those, for those misdemeanor obstruction charges, are probably out as well.
Representative Marcel has expressed frustration that these folks are being booked on state charges, which require a judge to set bond, takes time, as opposed to city charges where the bond is. Can you talk about whether or not you believe that's appropriate to do state charges?
I mean, my understanding is the allegations have occurred on state highways, so I can see why the officers would pick a state charge and have all of the charges handled by one section, one court, instead of going to different multiple courts. I also understand it is that city court would have to set bonds just as well. Judge, regardless of whether there's a set bond or a scheduled bond, judges have the ability to set whatever bond they want, have RORs, and my understanding that many of these people have been given releases on their signature or by others. Yes, sir. Brent?
We've seen sort of a slow trickle of arrestees being released from Perry Prison. I don't think the first people got out until from Saturday night's arrest until well after noon Sunday. I mean, is there an intention to slow walk?
No, so, and I don't know that, but I did receive a call from Reverend Jetson that asked me the same question, and that spurred a call from me to the warden, and the warden advised that there were only 20 left in jail as of 2 hours ago. But the reality here, as you know from being here in Baton Rouge, our prison is very old, and where you are booked in jail and where you're fingerprinted is very, very tight quarters. We normally, on a heavy day here, book 40 people in jail, and when you add now 100 a day or 40 to that normal booking, things get very slowed down when you have to fingerprint, identify by photographs. So I think they're doing as best as they can with the physical situation that they're in. I don't think there's any intent whatsoever to hold anyone. In fact, the intent is just the opposite, is to get these people out of jail as quickly as we can. And again, I'm referring to misdemeanor offenses.
How difficult is it to prosecute all these people knowing that the officer has to be in court?
Obviously, this is a large number of cases that are coming in. Obviously, you have to have the officer there. We resolve the vast majority of our cases in our office prior to any type of trial or court appearance. So we're going to look at all of those. We're going to take our time, take a look at it. We expect that those that need to be tried or charged will be, and those others will be resolved in some kind of manner.
Some of the protesters said that they were charged with felonies for obstructing the highway. Is that possible?
Again, I don't know I really have not had a chance to read any report. I guess there's that possibility, depending on what other actions were taken. I've seen maybe one or two probable cause sheets from, I think Friday night or Saturday night, and that was really it. Too many other things that were occurring, working on this report and others. So, but I'm sure that's possible.
Just to clarify, you're not going to recuse yourself from these cases, the protest?
No, I have no.
It's just the Alton Sterling criminal investigation that you're accusing yourself?
Correct. I have no relationship to my knowledge, and if I ever did, I would do the same thing. I'd disclose. This is not the first time the office has recused themselves. It's not something that we look favorably on, but when you have relatives or people that are involved in your office that are related somehow, these things occur.
Has your office done anything related to the Alton Sterling investigation since DOJ initiated their own?
So the extent was, we have set up an officer-involved shooting protocol here, beginning actually in January. And then, as you know, we had the Baton Rouge police officer-involved shooting, and then one subsequent to that with the sheriff. Our protocol is that we as a team, the district attorney, the first assistant, the assistant DA on duty, the forensic investigator, and the DA investigator on duty will respond to the scene like we do to most other homicide cases. We will observe what's going on. We will consult, meet with the detectives and the officers. We will get walked through the scene itself by the crime scene detectives that show us where things are. Following that, then we leave the scene and we go to the violent crime unit where we watch through camera. We watch the interviews being conducted of the witnesses, which we did in this case. And the detectives will take a break at the end. Will ask us, do we have any other questions that we think that they missed or didn't ask or should ask? And we did that in this case. And then later in the day, the two officers were interviewed, and we followed that same procedure. At that point, we have not had any other connection whatsoever, any other investigation that has been taking place.
You were present when the officers gave a statement to PI, is it Internal Affairs investigation?
No, we're not allowed, could not have access to internal affairs investigations when the officer spoke with the detectives investigating the case.
And that was the night of the shooting, the day of the shooting?
Yes, same day. Yeah, there was no, it was the same, actually it was the same day, correct,
What is the time frame on you filing your motion? And
today.
today?
Yeah, it should be filed by now, Greg, and we'll just wait for Judge Jackson, I believe, to sign it. This took place during Judge Irwin's duty week, but since there's no file, there's no arrest, we handle it as a duty matter, because this is when she's on duty this week, and that's how we've handled it for the last 30 years, and that's the way we file it today.
Why did you wait till now to file it?
Why did we wait till now? It's 7 days. It's a week. I called the FBI Justice Department within a day. I had to form a report. My procedure now is I'll issue a report. We have discussed this for several days while handling many other things that are associated with this. I think this is an extremely quick turnaround. It's probably the fastest one that I've ever seen done. It was one that we discussed as an office, what's appropriate, what's proper, and we wanted to make sure that we made the right decision for the right reason, and that justice was always going to be the center focus. And I believe it's the right decision. I think it was extremely timely made, and I think that hopefully it's one that the public will accept. I don't expect that everyone will wholeheartedly embrace why is the DA not accepting this case or continuing on the case in the future once the Department of Justice makes a report. But fairness dictates in this case that this is what happened. I don't like running from anything. This is one that I'm not running from. This is one that this is justice by doing what I'm doing for all parties involved and for the community. Yes, sir. Hey, Brent.
It looked like from what our reporters saw yesterday and from video down near Government Street that police had sort of charged onto private property, arresting people on front lawns, arresting people on sidewalks. I've heard reports that some people were pushed into the street and then arrested for obstructing. Is that something you can comment on?
I have no idea whether any of that happened, but I don't think that the police need to make any more arrests or push people to make an arrest. But we're going to take a look at every case. Anybody that's been arrested, have any counsel, lawyers, give us your input. Tell us what your client has to say if you wish. If you have any footage of anything, any kind of documentation, any data, please give us what you have. We'll take a look at everything in these cases, any other case. Whether the police can go onto private property, obviously if they saw a crime being committed, they can follow that person. Maybe not inside a house, depending on the charge, but that's apparently not what your question was.
When do you expect to start making some of these charging decisions about the protest?
Well, first we have to receive reports, and that takes some time for us to receive reports. And when you have this many reports that have to be written, and I also understand that there's a lot of video footage that was being conducted by the police departments, the various police departments that are here. I'd have to find that video coverage. You all may have some. Individuals may have some of their own. Further complicated that you have several different agencies that have worked the different cases. Not sure whether I'm dealing with other agents that I have to interview or get any reports or documentation, videos they have. And right now, that duty, that section that's handling these cases, they're on duty. They're handling every other case of arrest that comes in. So it'll take us some time, but our promise is to try to expedite these as quickly as we can, slowing down on those that are where injury occurred, felonies occurred, weapons. Those will take their own pace.
Have you talked to the Attorney General to let him know this was coming?
I did. Actually, knowing what my situation was, the relationship. Actually, the day that I called the United States Attorney, had a meeting the following morning with representatives of the FBI and the United States Attorney, and I invited one of Jeff Landry's assistants, Mr. Brandon Freeman, who runs the criminal division. I invited him at the meeting just to let him and them know that this is something that was coming, although a final decision had not yet been made. I wanted to make sure, just in case there was something there that they needed some participation in, which they ultimately did not, that a representative was there, at least from the Attorney General, to be there on the ground floor. So that was done. This process began the night of this event. Anybody else?
One more question.
Yes.
The police presence, I mean, some protesters and community leaders are criticizing the heavy police presence, the use of, sound weapons and gas masks and riot gear and assault rifles, personal style weapons. Doesn't mean you can comment on whether that's exacerbating things.
Police procedure is really not my call, but surely police have to protect themselves and protect the protesters all at the same time. Protection of life is the number one goal here. I've been in some of these meetings with these officers, with the governor, the mayor, representatives, senators, you name it. We've all been in meetings together about upcoming events and security, police presence. I think the police, and I'm talking about all law enforcement here, have done an outstanding job of keeping their peace. Whether they're individualized cases of people indicating that they were not treated fairly, I'm sure that in this type of situation, that's going to happen. I'll have those complaints, and we'll deal with those, as will the different departments. But I think that they have handled this situation very well. I think the community has handled this situation very well. Very, very few acts of violence. And I think yesterday, if my numbers are correct, there were 50 or 52 people that arrested. And I want to say that 30 to 35 were not from Baton Rouge, from out of the city. And I think that you'll see that a lot of the folks that agitate or have agitated have been from out of the state. And we welcome people here from out of the state, as long as you behave properly. And I think we talked about this at our first news conference that we had, that we understood that this was going to happen. We knew people were going to come here, but just behave and make your voice known. And I think I'm really proud of the vast majority of the folks who have been here to protest, as well as I am of the law enforcement. Yes, ma'am.
What has the last 7 days been like for you personally and professionally, given the context of what you're saying?
I've learned a lot about people. I've learned about people in my office that work very hard. Just the making of these few words that I've said here, the writing of this report, and the vigor that the people in my office have for truth, for transparency, and justice made me extremely proud to be the DA of Baton Rouge. I've traveled around this country as the DA and as the president of the DA's Association. And Baton Rouge community, the Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office, and our legal community are held in high esteem. We're a very progressive office. I'm no prouder today, although I do not like, and it's distasteful to recuse myself, I'm extremely proud of why we did it, how we came to it, how quickly we came to this decision, how fair and how just it is. I'm equally as proud as our local leadership, our faith-based leadership, our community leaders, as well as law enforcement, meeting together to say this is our home, this is our community. Let's not drag our community down. We have issues. Everyone knows we have issues. And we're much better off than other places, although that may not be evident at this time. And the commitment of everyone to really work together to move in better directions. I think Baton Rouge is going to learn a whole lot from this. I know how I have about our community. The folks that I've run into and the people at my office that they've run into, our citizens are really liking the way that we have handled this. Obviously, you'll have complaints from different segments, but by and large, I believe that we're doing the right thing, and I'm extremely proud of everybody.
Knowing that almost half of the people that protested this weekend, they were from out of town, how proud does that make you knowing that the people here handle it safely? Is it still proud to call it a safe place?
Absolutely. Baton Rouge is a safe place. You've seen what we have done together in our community to alleviate some violent crime, homicide, and these are the folks that we need to continue to work on and work with and give them help and assistance. We need to work on trust between law enforcement community and our community. It's the same thing that's going around our communities all across the United States. It's the stop sign, it's the red light. You know, why does the guy who's the hardest criminal, maybe the biggest murderer, why does he stop at a stop sign or a red light? Because he trusts. He trusts that if he does not stop at that stop sign, that red light, that something bad's going to happen to him. And he understands, knowing ahead of time, that there are rules that you have to comply with stopping and trust. And I think that we need to eventually get to that type of scenario where community understands and trusts the police understand and trust the community, and then you get more communication, better cooperation, better respect, better obey for the law. And Baton Rouge is the right city for it, and I look forward to Baton Rouge being a model of how we, not only how we handle this, but how we're going to progress in the future on all the different issues that this may raise.
Thank you.
Thank you all.